Hello and welcome back to another Archaeo-Scope. Now this series is kind of like an inverted questions of doom, where rather than me attempting to answer a question that you've sent me, I put a question out there through the medium of video for you guys to consider, and in discussions and debates that happen in the comments below, hopefully together we come up with a meta response, an answer which one of us on our own might not have considered. Now today's video is likely to be fairly short, or at least shorter than usual, and that's for two reasons. Reason number one is because, well, I'm packing to move, and as soon as I've finished recording this, the set behind me will be coming down. Yes, a momentous day. Reason number two, though, is because actually I don't think I have a fully formed opinion on this question. I don't really have a fully formed answer myself, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys think. Now today's question has actually been inspired by the building opposite the current Archaeo-Scope towers. In front of the Archaeo-Scope towers at the moment is an old library, and earlier this year the library service moved from the old library to a new building in Wallsend, and therefore for the past few months it's essentially been sitting derelict. The building has been empty, and bit by bit it is succumbing to processes of, for example, decay, but also as well vandalism and random acts of violence against the building. Now one such act actually happened a couple of days ago. I was actually walking to the car, about to take Mrs. Soup out to work. She works in Newcastle, so we're going to drive out and come back, or I was at least, and I saw that one of the windows on the library had been smashed just around the corner on the car park, and well, this is what I saw. Now you may be able to tell from the shape of the break in the window, the sort of the circular shape, that that's actually the result of a football being kicked through the window, a soccer ball. And we know this for certain because for the past few weeks we've seen the same couple of boys turning up, kicking a ball at the window. You see the muddy impressions of the ball left on the window. It was a football, which was kicked through one night last week, or earlier this week, sorry. Essentially it was an act of mindless vandalism. Now, funnily enough, this actually got my head racing. I was thinking, oh, isn't that interesting? And then obviously Mrs. Soup went, come on, we need to go. So I drove her to work and came back. But what I was thinking, what I was wondering, was whether or not it's possible archaeologically to see acts of mindless vandalism. Now, let's just explore that concept for a moment. Vandalism and the Vandals really get their name and their association from this slightly inaccurate idea that the Visigoths and the Vandals in the 5th century AD or thereabouts came along and destroyed Rome. They sacked Rome, and the great light of civilization was extinguished for 500 years or so. But that's not what actually happened. I mean, I'll explore that in another video, but actually the Vandals and the Goths were rather civilized in their behaviour, but anyway. But that's where it comes from. It comes from this act of sort of a lower mindset, a lower culture, or a lower thing being destroying something grand and lovely and beautiful. That's vandalism, especially mindless vandalism. And in this instance, the reason why I was wondering is that because over time, that smashed window, if it wasn't tended to, there is now a wooden board covering it, but if it wasn't tended to, would it not just be speeding up natural processes of decay? You know, eventually nature, if we just left it alone, would reclaim that library. In fact, for a long time when I first moved here, the garden in the middle of the library is kind of like a square donut shape, the library building. The garden in the middle was actually growing in through windows into the library. I mean, it was already happening. You know, they did quite severely chop that garden down again, but eventually that would happen again, and plants would come in, animals would come in, wind and weather would affect the building, and it would just decay and destroy and fall apart. So in some ways this one act, this smashing of a window, is probably going to be, or would probably be, archaeologically invisible. It's just one of many decaying events, one of many destruction events enacted on that library, which is probably indistinguishable from natural processes acting on the library. And yet we can see some types of breaking events. For example, archaeologists are able to see if a pot was smashed in situ. If you want to know more about that, there's a video I've done previously on breaking pots, on smashing pots, in the experimental soup series. We can also tell, for example, if a breakage is probably ritual or not. For example, if some pieces are missing but everything else is there, maybe the pieces have been taken away as tokens of that thing, that breakage after a meal or something. We can see, obviously, for example, types of vandalism, including, say, graffiti, politically motivated vandalism in places like Pompeii, where people maybe, yes, they're talking about a political event, or they're advertising something, or they're just saying, I was here. You can see it, and that's archaeologically visible. But is it possible to distinguish and to find essentially a for a laugh moment in archaeology? Especially when it's to do with destruction, destroying something, and I'm not sure it is. Now, maybe there's been some work done out there that I'm not aware of, and in that case I'd love for you guys to let me know. Please do put a link in the comments below. But these moments which are actually quintessentially human, very few other animals I can think of just destroy things for a laugh. Usually, for example, even chimpanzees, if they're destroying something, it's usually out of curiosity or violence or an emotional response. Often with human beings, if something's just been kicked, smashed, destroyed, pulled apart, it's just through boredom, or just, what was there, thought we'd have a laugh. And is that behaviour, that, I suppose, actually diagnostically human behaviour, is that actually invisible to archaeologists? And in what circumstances might it be visible? Can you think of any situations where that kind of mindset, that kind of behaviour might come into the realm where archaeologists can identify it in the future? Because in the case of the window being smashed, yes, the window is smashed and eventually it'll just all fall in and disappear, and the pieces won't be necessarily reconstructible. You won't necessarily be able to see the shape of the break as it was broken, and yet the day after you could tell a football went through that window. So yeah, are these moments, are they they're time limited in terms of their visibility? Do they eventually just become part of the inevitable decay of the universe, as it were? The sort of almost like thermodynamics, this sort of inevitable shift of things from a state of order to disorder. This is essentially the idea that the library, while it's standing, won't be there forever, and eventually it will collapse, and the processes involved in that eventually become sort of an indistinguishable mass of decay. Anyway, maybe, possibly, I'm overthinking it. Who knows? But I think it's an interesting question to ask, so I thought I'd put it out there and see what your response is. So please do comment below. I look forward to reading what you think. If you have any examples of research or any particular opinions or any particular circumstances or events which might be visible by archaeologists, please do let me know. And there you have it. As I say, the next video I'll be filming won't be in front of this set. There are a couple of films in the bag, so maybe you'll see this set again, as it were, next week when I release them while I'm unpacking in the new house. They're already uploaded. But yeah, the next new video I film will not be in front of this set. It's quite tear-inducing. But nonetheless, while I'm unpacking and stressing out and moving house, hopefully you'll be thinking about this problem and commenting below, and I look forward to reading those comments. As always, guys, until next time, do take care, and fingers crossed for the move, eh? Bye-bye.